So Benjamin Franklin, one of our founding fathers and one of the greatest minds, was an avid participant of journaling. And he had a few habits that we can take from him, and this is what we can learn from Benjamin Franklin's journaling habits. First thing that he liked to do was he had a list of 13 different virtues that he would check every single day. Temperance, silence, order, resolution, frugality, industry, sincerity, justice, moderation, cleanliness, tranquility, chastity, humility. And he would track these things every single day. And we can learn from that the most important way to change behavior, especially through journaling, is by habit tracking. One of the habits that I highly recommend is what some people call bullet journaling, but just a basic form of habit tracking that you can place into your journal, where you write down 30 different boxes, then you write down a habit. For example, gym is over here, and then you box off each day that you do, and if you miss it, you do an X. Important prompts is another thing that we can learn from Benjamin Franklin, and especially prompts that we repeat to ourselves over and over. He would ask 2 questions. What good shall I do today? And what good have I done today? These were 2 of the habits and 2 of the prompts and questions that he asked himself at the beginning of every day. What good shall I do today? And then at the end of the day, what good have I done today? That's such an amazing way, I think, to go about each day. And what a beautiful thing to make sure that you're in action that's actually helping other people and bring you outside of yourself. And just to make sure, like I always stress, that your journal stays action-based. What kind of habits am I doing? And what kind of activities shall I partake in today that's for the good? And at the end of the day, see how good you were to your own word to yourself. Another thing we can learn from Benjamin Franklin is that we can schedule our days out in our journals. So, like we said before, he has his questions of what good shall I do in this day? And then he would plan out and schedule his whole day. So from 5 to 7, he would rise, wash, and address powerful goodness, contrive the day's business, and take resolutions of the day, and then prosecute the present study and breakfast. So he had his resolutions for the day. Each day he would write out what he would do, another thing that he would add to his journal. He would then work from 8 to 12. 12 to 1, he would read or overlook accounts. Again, 2 to 5, work. Then 6 to 9, put things in their place. Supper, music, or diversion, or conversation. And then examination of the day. Examination of the day would also be something that he would put in his journal. So every single day he would examine, how did I do with those 13 virtues that are so important to me? How did I do in general? What were things that went wrong? And just making sure that everything that happens in the day doesn't go overlooked, and that if there are learning lessons, we can take them with us and have them written down in our journal and remember them. I love this quote from Benjamin Franklin. He says, either write something worth reading or do something worth writing. Again, action-based journaling, where either you're writing something worth reading, and usually that comes from doing something that's worth writing. Making sure that if you're not writing, you're not just idly standing by, you're going out and you're doing things in the world that would have some meaning, would have some value, and would be interesting to read over. It's a good way to ask yourself if you're doing the right things in the day is, if I write about this later in my journal, would this be something someone else would want to read? Another thing that he was very big on was doing pros and cons list when it came time for big decisions in his life. He would do the classic, he would fold the paper in half, have 2 lines, one side for pros, one side for cons, and with any decision, he would list out all the pros, list out all the cons, and then be able to see them. Instead of them just jumbling in his head, he would be able to see everything at once on paper and have a more distant approach to his decision making, and he could also see if the pros outweigh the cons. Now, Benjamin Franklin, one of the greatest writers, and didn't even graduate college, dropped out of school at 10 years old, and became one of the most prolific, interesting human beings and writers of all time. And I think this all comes down to his experience with writing. Him being a journalist at one point, him having his news press business, him analyzing at the end of every single day and planning out all of his days. His journaling is what caused him to be able to live the life that he was able to develop, have the impact that he still has to this day, and lastly, to just develop himself into the best type of person that he was able to be to his utmost limit. And I think these are a few things that we can take from Franklin's version of journaling.